All right, everyone, there's a couple different Nintendo Switch topics I want to go over with you all today, starting with a conversation of one of my all-time favorite classic game collections that hit the Nintendo Switch back in 2020, then was discontinued in March of 2021, and to my surprise, that game is still on sale to this day, and I want to share it with you all in case you missed out on its original run. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with a brand new update that was announced for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, bringing a brand new N64 game to the mix, and we have to have a larger conversation of what this means for the future of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we got two different topics to cover today, and we have to kick it off with a surprise discussion. This is back on my radar because of Twitter, and I'll share the tweet in a minute, but you can actually still go out and buy Mario 3D All-Stars Collection for Nintendo Switch today from web retailers. Like, I've seen it stray in some stores from time to time. When I'm shopping at Walmart, I notice a random Walmart has it still in their cases, and I'm like, wow, well, I guess Nintendo released enough of this game to sell for a while, because if you're not familiar with the story behind this of course was to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary, which also led to a lot of us Zelda fans thinking that Zelda would get a similar treatment. We did not. We just got the Game & Watch device and nothing else for the Zelda 35th anniversary, but Mario did get a pretty big blowout event with even a direct focused around it. Now, this did of course take place during 2020, during some of the hype moments of the pandemic, when Nintendo was struggling to keep up with their production schedule, and the Mario Focus Direct was likely them giving us something when they couldn't do their traditional scheduled Nintendo Directs with a wide variety of different games due to the work at home requirements. And obviously that is all very understandable, but one very controversial decision that Nintendo made that I'm still not a fan of is these three 3D Mario classics that you can enjoy on the Switch would only be sold from September of 2020 through March 31st of 2021. It has since been pulled from the eShop. You cannot download this game digitally. This game is not available in the Nintendo Switch eShop period anymore. And so the amount of physical cartridges that are out there in circulation today will be the remainder of how future players can purchase this game. And that's really where the problem kicks in, is it's not such a big deal when you look at it. If they produced a ton of copies, well, why does it matter if they discontinued it? It's no big deal. Well, when you look at future gamers getting into Nintendo Switch library of games, and the only way to go back and experience these three classic 3D Mario titles are tied to this collection on the Switch. Granted, Mario 64 has of course been added in as part of the expansion pack. I would still argue that the version of Mario 64 on the 3D All-Stars collection is slightly superior. I don't think it's a day and night difference, but if you look at things online, you can see slightly better performance out of that version of the game that came on this cartridge. And so the reason this popped up on my radar today is Nintendo on Twitter tweeted out the following, putting my life at risk for telling you all about this, but more than a year after his death, you can still buy Mario 3D All-Stars at retail, and he lists Best Buy and Target. And then I got curious and looked up on Amazon, and sure enough, this game is still available for online order at all of these retailers, meaning that Nintendo clearly flooded the market with a ton of these things. And even a year plus after the cutoff date of when this game was supposed to stop selling, you can still purchase it. So I wanted to kind of put it out there as a message to anybody who maybe skipped out on this game. They're three of the best 3D Mario games of all time, period, and having them in one collection for $60 is just next level. Now, I have a unpopular opinion on my favorite 3D Mario game, which is none other than Super Mario Sunshine. It just has the most creative platforming, in my opinion. A lot of people did not like the flood mechanic. I personally was a fan of it, and it has some of the most hardcore challenge in a Mario game when it comes to tricky platforming sections like those Shadow Mario levels. When you lose the flood mechanic, you have to have some legit skill to get to the end of those things, and the game is very unforgiving. I personally loved it. I was the perfect age when I played through it on the GameCube and 100%ed it, and most recently, after this game collection was released, I ended up 100%ing all three of these Mario games again, and still to this day, I enjoy Sunshine the most out of all three. That said, Mario 64 is a close second, and then in my personal opinion, I actually prefer Galaxy 2 over Galaxy 1. Granted, both are great and play very similar to each other, but I do think that the wide variety of new levels and experiences with Yoshi, especially in Mario Galaxy 2, makes that the slightly superior game, which also is another conversation point because there's still Galaxy 2 missing from the Switch's library, and I hope that Nintendo does go back into their back catalog one day and give us a standalone HD remaster of that game, because All of these games look great as part of this collection, and definitely something that if you are a Nintendo Switch owner, you should have this collection in your library of games. So if you did miss out on this on the original sale window and you thought maybe it was too late to buy it, or that you had to buy it from aftermarket on eBay and pay higher prices, it is not. I'll have the Amazon link in the description down below. Definitely feel free to check that out, and definitely play through these 3 classic Mario games. If you are a fan of games like Odyssey, you will absolutely love what this classic collection has to offer. And I just thought it was really interesting that these things are still out there and about in circulation. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below what your favorite 3D Mario game is of all time. Definitely share that with me, and also share with me whether or not you purchased this collection the first time around, your opinion on Nintendo discontinuing it overall, and whether or not you'll be picking it up for the first time in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today once again has to do with Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, and really a good news update, as Nintendo is clearly sticking to a 1 new N64 game per month schedule. So far, since they've started adding in new games to the N64 library, we have not had them skip a single month like I was very worried they may end up doing, simply because of their track record with NES and SNES over the course of time. Granted, we are still very early into the expansion pack's life cycle, so whether or not this continues for long term will remain to be seen, but so far it seems like a very safe bet to assume that once per month we will get that tweet that goes out late in the evening that says in the upcoming days or next week or even towards the end of the month that this is the game for that calendar month. It is not always 30 days apart. It is just they are picking one N64 game for one calendar month, and they release it without fail so far. So in Nintendo fashion, late yesterday evening they tweeted out the following: "Get into the swing, tee off with Mario and friends when Mario Golf comes to Nintendo Switch for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members on 4/15, which of course is next Friday." Now, from what I can see, their Nintendo of America Twitter account did not tweet out any kind of trailer, but if you look at the Japanese Nintendo account, they do have a 2-minute overview trailer of this game, and of course it is looking better than ever, as Nintendo, since they have really done the updates to the emulator and fixed the initial issues that many users complained about. I have been nothing but a fan of how these games run on the service now. Not when they launched, that was a totally different story, but now when you look at them, and even when you compare them to things like the Wii U Virtual Console that had those dark filters on the N64 games, like these clearly look more vibrant, they look better, and I like having the access to play them whether I'm on the go or docked at home. And I'm very much a fan of the continued work that Nintendo has put into this service, and adding in things like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC Booster Course Pass definitely helps soften the blow of the $50 annual asking price. And if you have multiple users, definitely hop on the family plan, as that's definitely the more consumer-friendly price point if you can split it with some other family members or friends out there, because it's $80 for up to 8 players, which if you got 8 players breaks down to $10 annually per user. But all of that said, and referencing a recent video that I made here on the channel, there's a lot of discussion online around what the future of the N64 library may hold, especially when you look at how many licensed titles that they've had over the course of the years, and how there could be some complications bringing back some of those titles. And this is the one thing that I want to reiterate: we did have a data mine that hit shortly after the expansion pack launch, where it clearly shows that there are roughly 38 games planned for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, N64 games specifically. I believe the Genesis number was like something around the 55 point, but we know that at least what Nintendo has coded into the emulator so far supports up to 38 games. Now, what those games will be is all up for debate and speculation, but I do think we are on a long road of new N64 announcements, and I am hopeful that they will add in more consoles, but I think we're going to see them stick to this 1 per month formula for the foreseeable future, and we will probably get something like the next overview of the next batch of games, maybe the 6 to 8 or 10 games that they have planned around the corner at something like their summertime Nintendo Direct. And I definitely think they need to lean in hard to the rare titles that were developed for this game, like Diddy Kong Racing, like Donkey Kong 64, like the heavily rumored and long awaited GoldenEye. Like, we definitely need to see all of those games make it over. M-rated titles will most likely have complications, as I don't know how Nintendo would handle that, but we definitely have some rare hits out there that have to make it over. And because Banjo-Kazooie is in the mix, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all, and hopefully we even get Banjo-Tooie on the service. And Nintendo can of course mix that up with some of their own first party releases that are missing, like the original Super Smash Bros. That I certainly hope we see come back in a big way with online play. Like, that could actually be a major portion of the Direct in itself, and I think fans would be hyped to play that game again online with friends in the year of 2020. 2022. Then just throw in some Mario parties, Wave Race 64, 1080 snowboarding. Hopefully we get games like Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. I definitely think those have to hit the service. Pilot Wing 64, Excite Bike 64, they definitely still have quite a few games that they can go through to add into their library of Nintendo 64 games, and some of which will probably require some licensing payment from Nintendo, but I think they obviously have the money on hand with the amount that they are charging for the service. So I definitely hope that we see a wide variety of games make it over the course of the years, that we will probably see them drip feed these out until we ultimately end up with something like that 38 games on NSO expansion pack. You then have to think about how Nintendo has updated their Nintendo Switch Online historically up to this point, and it is for some reason always focused on at the September Nintendo Direct, as since the service was launched back in 2018 and NES was the initial library of games. Then in the September Direct at 2019, we got the update around SNES games being added in with a brand new SNES controller that's being sold alongside of it. 2020 did not see a traditional September Direct, so no updates there. But then fast forward to 2021, and that was the time that they dropped the announcement of expansion pack, adding in, of course, N64 and Genesis games. And if I'm a betting man, if we are getting more systems added in, like it's been heavily rumored due to numerous industry insiders online, it's most likely the Game Boy family of systems. And when would they announce something like that coming to the service? Most likely at the September Direct in 2022. Now, the big question would then become is, would Nintendo get overly aggressive and try to create a new price tier again for adding in the Game Boy family of systems? I think that would be a big misstep. I think that it was already a stretch to push it to $50 annually, and while it is slowly becoming more worth it, if they try to go up again, that will probably turn off more consumers than they would want to and not get the masses to subscribe to the service, whereas there's probably a lot of fans on the fence still waiting to sign up for the service, that if Game Boy Advance games, those being the big ones, because Game Boy and Game Boy Color definitely have their fun titles as well, but I think the big draw would be Game Boy Advance. If you throw that in at the same price point and we get games like Metroid Fusion, like Zelda Minish Cap, like Golden Suns, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and then maybe they even get really crazy and throw in some of the OG Pokemon games that came out over the course of the Game Boy years, like, you are going to have an easy sell, in my opinion, at that point. And I definitely hope that that is the road of what Nintendo is planning with future updates to this service. And I do think we could ultimately see this evolve one day into a giant catalog of back Nintendo games. I think GameCube is extremely unlikely for something like the Nintendo Switch, but if you fast forward 5 years into the future and we're playing on the Nintendo Switch 2 that is way more powerful, or whatever they end up calling it, at that point in time I could see GameCube being in the realm of possibility. So who knows what Nintendo has planned for the future of the service. I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below how you feel as we've talked about all of the changes and updates that Nintendo has made to NSO plus expansion pack over the course of time. What do you think about Mario Golf being the next title? What do you think we're getting after this, whether it be Pokemon Snap or Kirby and the Crystal Shards, as those are the two remaining announced games slated for the service? And definitely share with me if you think today in 2022, where we stand in the month of April, that Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack is worth it at this point in your eyes, or if they still need to make more changes and more additions to the service to get you to sign up or feel like it is a good value. So please share all your thoughts and opinions, regardless of how you feel about everything that we talked about today, in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out yesterday's video if you haven't already, where we boot up Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga on the Nintendo Switch together, and I share my early gameplay impressions on how that game runs on the Switch and what big adventure it has to offer. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.